the background is a jelly print using various layers and textures. So I'll talk more about that later. The jelly plate is a 1 centimeter thick, very flexible, man-made gelatine, and it's used for monoprinting. Now these are two makes of jelly plate. The one on the left, that's the first one that came out, Jelly Arts, and they've got absolutely loads of videos and how-tos around, but they are quite expensive. So the gel press one is almost the same. Well, I can't tell a difference, and it is cheaper. The first one to come out was a 6x6 square size, but now you can get all sorts of different sizes, and I've got several 6x6s and an 8x10 and 11x14 even, which is what I used for that photo on the first slide. The first steps, you add paint onto the jelly plate and make marks with anything that isn't going to damage the plate, so anything that's not sharp. So on the left, I think, yeah, on the circles on the right are actually made with rubber bands, and the others are made with a tool, probably a ceramic pointed tool, wooden pointed tool, but not sharp. The middle one is using finger painting, and the one on the right again is using a mark making tools and a handmade rubber stamp at the bottom. Obviously, if you put paint down, then you put something on top of it, then you put paper down and take a print, you're going to get negative shapes. But then it leaves an impression on the plate, which you can then pick up with the next print. Now that's called the ghost print, the second print. And then you can put them together either by doing some sort of registration, or you can do it later. You can print on tissue paper or deli paper, which is almost transparent. And then when you glue them down on top of the first one, the deli paper or tissue paper almost disappears. The one on the right is not glued down with gel medium, so it hasn't gone so transparent. But you can obviously manipulate them on the computer. These are some prints, some patterns really made from leaves. I did this last autumn when my daughter was here, the last time I saw her, and just collected some leaves in the morning and went and printed some in the afternoon. And it's all about layers, texture, colour, layers, which obviously are all things that I love. Here are some of the prints that I actually made in a video that I'm going to show you in a few minutes. The video actually is to show you a typical jelly printing session where you're layering up different prints. Then I'm always asked, what do I do with the prints? Because you end up with loads of them. These are framed paintings made for an exhibition called Alchemy. So obviously I'm using lots of symbols, alchemy symbols, and lots of, well, it's a collage really of different jelly prints, some on tissue paper, some on cartridge paper, and all brought together. These are some more of the textured prints, the big ones, the 14 by 11. all inspired by a trip to Norway, Norwegian fields. You can see all the different textures and layers and using masks taken from my photographs. More mountain scenes. These are from imagination really, but these are the 6x6 ones, so you can see the texture more. Now, other things that I use them for, these are some framed photographs, and obviously on my mugs. The picture top right is me with my painting on the left of the picture, and on the right is a painting by, or screen print, by Paolozzi. And these were done for an exhibition at Rugby Art Gallery and Museum, where we were asked to make a response to one of the paintings in the Rugby collection. And these are greetings cards. I make lots of greetings cards, and these are all made either with jelly prints in the background or eco prints. Right, that's that. That's the end of that. And now I'll go on to a video if I can get this to work. Oh, that's not the beginning. This is the beginning. So I'm putting some, this is the jelly plate, the transparent square. I'm putting some paint on the plate and rollering it with a print roller. I start with a light colour, although I think this turned out to be too pale.
Carol, the video has not been enabled yet. Are you playing the video?
Okay, just a minute. Did I stop share before? Yes, I did, didn't I? Share screen. Try again.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, I'm just rollering out some paint as evenly as possible, not too thick. And now I've got a piece of net curtain that I'm pressing on to get the texture. In this case, I'm using a piece of paper just to press it into the paint because I'll not get my fingers so messy. So you do get a bit of an impression on that one, which you can use later as a background. Take that up, and then you've got the pattern and texture on the printing plate. So take another piece of paper, just ordinary copy paper in this case, and press all over the back. Doesn't have to be too hard. And pull the print. And there we go. Can't see much of it, but it is there. And quite often we roller off the excess paint on the roller onto a spare piece of paper. Now choosing another color. I think I go for a transparent one here. Usually people put too much paint on when they first start. You don't need an awful lot. Sort of like a pea size is about right. That's a texture plate. My favourite paint, these are acrylic paints. My favourite paint is Amsterdam. It's just the right, I find it's just the right texture, and it's matte. I don't like the shiny acrylics. There's bubble wrap as well here. Just pressing in to get a texture and then transferring any excess paint onto another piece of paper, which again can become another background. Oh, I've gone for a mask here. And the print that I've already done. I do have a registration system, but quite often with the small ones particularly, I just do it by feel. There we go. Pressing that down, but probably not much paint on them. No. So take a print. You can use your hands. Some people use a paint roller to do that, print roller. Yeah, quite like that one. Unfortunately, I think I'll go over it later. You can see how clean the plate gets after each print, after most prints. Now I'm using a bit more paint because I'm using a texture plate that I made myself from foam sheets on cardboard. And I know that this is quite absorbent, so I have put a little bit extra paint on here. So this time I'm using it like a big stamp. And the jelly plate like a stamp pad. There we go. So it's all about the layers. Now I can go back to this one. But actually the paint I use this time is more opaque. I think it covers up too much. but it's all good. Keep layering. Yep, still some paint left on there. Now, luckily the paint isn't drying too quickly today, but obviously in the summer, when it's hot, it'll dry more quickly. So particularly when I'm doing the big ones, I like to use golden open acrylics, which stay wet a lot longer. You know, when I bend over like this, I've got scrap paper on the floor to clean my roller on. I always run out of space when I'm doing jelly printing. I've actually there's a table behind me, which is usually full of sketchbooks that I'm working on and collage papers. Today I've got my stencils and masks there as well. Is this where I take a long time finding the right stencil? 2 canvases at the back there that I'm working on. Again, lots of layers. The studio's in my garden, which is great, especially during lockdown, so that I can go out there every day. Every afternoon I'm out there doing some form of art, or printing, or eco printing, or art journaling. I have a lot of sketchbooks on the go at any one time. There we go. Another stencil I've made myself using mylar and a hot knife. Here we go. There, another layer. Also on the floor is some newspaper for me to put the wet stencils and masks on. Another one that's almost obliterated what was there before, but not quite. Still see it. Cleaning the roller. Well, when I say cleaning, just getting off the excess. The Amsterdam acrylics have two sorts. There's the standard and there's expert, which is artist quality with all the usual standard colours like the cadmiums and so on. I usually use the standard, apart from certain colours that I go for in the expert range. Using this one again. Yep. Start of another background. So you can see it just keeps going. You just keep getting a second print, ghost print, which becomes the first layer of the next print, and go backwards and forwards between all these prints. I always wear myself out when I'm doing this because I always stay too long and there's always one more print I want to do. This is one of my favorite colors, indigo, in the expert range. Corrugated cardboard. Anything that will make a texture and not damage the plate. I've used lino. I've done lino printing with this. Obviously looking for another mask or stencil. I'm using masks and stencils here, but you can actually use real plants and flowers. I've obviously always got lots of leaves because I do eco printing, and I dry leaves and flowers in a flower press. But you can just use fresh ones in the summer. one again. Let's see what we get. Much. Oh, now I'm cleaning the plate because I want to change colour. So I'm using a baby wipe. You can just use a sponge with water. And a paper towel. But some people never clean their plates. They just leave the residue, and you get what some people call the crusty bits that get left behind. And they do pull up on some later prints. The crusty bit, there is a YouTube video called Crusty Bits, and it's lots of layers, and then you can pull them all up at the end. This is another technique that can use. You can actually do lots of layers on the plate, letting them dry between each time, and then come back the next day or something. This is lace, and you put a very thin layer of paint over the top, which reactivates, and then you can pull up the print. It doesn't always work. It's not an exact science, but you can get some really lovely effects like that, and I can show you that sometime. Also, I know last time you were asking about image transfer, and certainly we can do that either with one color or two colors of paint. It doesn't have to be copy paper, it can be any paper, but I like this because it's good for collage, it's not too thick. I have used printing paper, printmaking paper, and also tissue paper. Tissue paper is really good, and I've always got some tissue paper prints ready for collage. Are leaves. These are real leaves, but they've already got layers of acrylic paint on them. Rubber stamps are good. I always have some of those if I do a children's workshop. And they love using combs to make, wavy patterns. So this can be done by any age. Yeah. I think I'll stop there. I think it gets a bit repetitive. But I wanted to show you a typical